Oh, looks like I'm live, boys and girls. Oh gosh. Apparently you can live stream for 8 hours. I just got a little notification informing me of that. That's the kind of thing that I would edit out in one of my videos, but here I am. Not that I'm going to have any live viewers, thankfully. I'm mainly making this video as sort of an experiment and also to make sure that I have my stuff together because on Sunday I'm going to be both interviewed and then I'm going to interview Leon of Type Tips. So at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you should tune in to one of our channels. I don't know who's going to be going first, but I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to be talking about dreams and archetypes and how those concepts kind of interrelate with personality theory, typology. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited about it. And I figured since I'm making this experimental test video, I might as well go over where I went wrong with my Anna Kendrick video because I'm a little behind schedule. I've typically been trying to release my recap videos and my typing videos. Um, well, releasing the recap videos on Monday night or Tuesday morning so that I can have the type ready before the objective personality class is actually going. That wasn't quite right, but whatever. I'm sure that I'm making sense in some way. Yeah, so that's what I've been going for, but I got a little bit behind. And this week, Dave and Shan typed Elon Musk, and I didn't really have a lot of interest in participating in that because I've already seen on their website a few hints as to what his type might be, and I just didn't really. I felt like I had too much of the inside scoop, so I couldn't really be objective about it. I already knew that he was going to be some sort of INTP, probably a sleepy INTP. So anyhow, I'm going to move on to the Anna Kendrick portion of this live stream. What am I doing? Um, so before I talk about where I went wrong, I did want to briefly talk about what I got right. So just to recap, I had typed Anna Kendrick as an ENTP, although an ENTP with a focus on TE over FI. So in some respects, she might have seemed like an NT more than an NF temperamentally. And dun, 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 the truth is she is actually an INFP. So I got the right quadra, which is something to celebrate. And I understood that one of her savior functions was extroverted intuition. And I could also see that she wasn't really a sleep focused person. She's always hustling. She's always doing something. She's been doing things since she was a 14, 13-year-old girl, acting and plays and in musicals. Yeah, so that is about the extent of what I got right. And I think that a primary reason for why I mistyped her is that I've been too fixated on the animals, which, as a refresher, the animals are basically combinations of functions. So TINE would be the consume animal, TISE would be consume, FINE, FISE. Those are all consume because they're the fusion of an introverted judgment function or an introverted decider and an extroverted observer or perceiving function. So that's what they call consume in the objective personality model. And I've been way too fixated on those. So I think that I can see them pretty well. So I understand when somebody is exhibiting sleep energy, and I understand when somebody is exhibiting consume or play. The problem is I kind of look at that before I look at anything else. And if you get too fixated on one of those animals before you have any other stuff in place, you can eliminate huge portions of the 512 type grid without any real rationale. So, for example, the thing is, I don't know how to put this. essentially, if you're watching an interview, so it's kind of misleading, right? You can embody these different animal energies without necessarily using them, with any natural facility, or maybe you've learned to use them, but they're not something that is a core part of your personality. So essentially, you can fill their shoes without embodying them. It's like, in the words of REM, everybody has sleep energy sometimes. So essentially, interviews make for a really blasty setting. Blast being the animal where you take some sort of introverted perceiving function and push it out into the external tribal world. So maybe you are an INFJ or an ENFJ. That's what blast looks like. If you're a stereotypical INFJ or ENFJ, then you're kind of like blasting out this information that you've organized, uh, using the tribal feelings as sort of like the waves that your message is traveling on. Or that's my current hyper limited understanding, anyhow. So yeah, people can kind of play the part even if they don't actually have that as one of their primary animals that they like to use. So you can get fixated on that and then say, well, I definitely don't think that she's X because she's obviously using Y. And then there goes a quarter of the viable types that this person could potentially be. So the thing is, interviews are a naturally blasty setting. So even if you have a very sleep-based person who's a celebrity, if they're going to get on, um, if they're going to get on Jimmy Kimmel's show or Jimmy Fallon's show, they're not going to just be like a brick wall. They're not going to be exhibiting zero energy. So yeah, and it's also going to be a really playful setting. So sometimes they might be engaged in banter that they wouldn't otherwise naturally engage in. So don't get distracted by that kind of thing, because I definitely do and did and will probably continue to do so until I finally learn my lesson. Let's see, what else did I want to cover? Well, I mean, my main takeaway on that point is don't fixate on the animals, only use them to cross-reference other things that you're figuring out. So if you think that you see FE as opposed to FI, and you think that you see NI as opposed to NE, and you're like, okay, so I think I have NI FE or FE NI, then you can kind of cross-reference and say, well, are they leading with blast? Are they using this blast function, and are they using it outside of the interview context? So you can kind of study up on them and just see what their natural element is. The other thing that sent me way off the rails was her introverted feeling. So I actually had determined, by saying that extroverted thinking was one of her savior functions, I thereby, by implication, I was saying that FI had to be a demon function. And yeah, I don't know. That's one area that I kind of struggle with. And I'm gonna have to figure out a way of reconceptualizing the whole tribe versus self dichotomy. So I think the problem is that I'm definitely somebody who has disowned feeling, and I'm trying to reintegrate it, but for much of my life, feeling has been an archetype or an energy that I've pushed away. I've pushed it in under the bed, like my room is now clean, right? Like everything is totally fine here. There's nothing festering beneath my bed. Don't worry about it. Totally fine. And so I guess whenever I saw her leaning so heavily on her introverted feeling, I kind of just felt this psychological repulsion. So I was like, oh, like, what are you doing? That's so self-centered and not in the good way, not in the good introverted thinking self-centered kind of way, which is in the service of humanity. Because if we map out these categorical context-free truths, then how is that not going to help everybody? I understand that introverted feeling is actually a very valuable function, and I'm just explaining my visceral reaction, in the moment. If I don't allow myself to be a better person than I actually am by default. So yeah, I took my demon reaction as an indication of her using a demonic function. So that's also something that I have to be aware of, because I started telling myself the story immediately to justify that. I'm like, oh, okay, Anna Kendrick was a child star. There's no way that she would have wanted to be an actor. Her parents probably roped her into it, and therefore she's kind of evaluate or she's cherishing the tribe's opinion over her own personal opinion, and she's neglecting her inner values. And yeah, that's a lesson in how you can pretty much rationalize anything. So you got to be really careful with this kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. Like I said, I'm going to be chatting with Leon on Sunday, so please check out Type Tips, and that'll be at 6 p.m. So I hope to see you then, and I'm going to scurry away from this broadcast as quickly as possible because I feel a little bit awkward. Cheers.